Well, welcome to another episode of Views from the Bridge, your second favorite podcast about probably your favorite team at this point, because they're the team that keeps winning games, the Philadelphia Union. I'm here tonight. This is Justin, and I'm here with Evan to talk about a couple different games. But first of all, Evan, how are you?
Yeah. Are they your favorite team this week, Justin? Because I mean, it was an up and down week for you in a lot of regards, but we'll talk about it. Doing well over
They
here.
still
I'm
are,
trying to
yeah.
think. Okay. Oh, that's good. Um, yeah. Now that everyone's English season or German season, whatever, is over after this weekend, I think the Union should be first in everyone's hearts and minds. Really.
No, for sure. I definitely agree with that. It is kind of crazy that the European seasons are coming to an end, and yeah, is what it is.
We're in the thick of it here, and it's going well.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously, we are.
So that's
we
all
have
I can
two
hope
games
for.
to talk about, so I guess let's back up a minute.
We do.
And on the weekend, the Union take down Atlanta 1-0. Any kind of key takeaways or thoughts from that game?
I still hate watching Brad Guzan play soccer. I'm glad we don't have to play Atlanta again. Ty Bariba stays hot. I guess a couple of shouts for Atlanta in there that didn't really materialize. It was scrappy conference away game, and you get 3 points, and that's I think what especially you wanted last week. I know for sure. So it's you're doing the things that you should be doing, and I mean a sweep is a sweep, so we'll take it.
Yeah, it was one of those games for me that I think it wasn't pretty by any stretch of the imagination. It
No, not
wasn't
at
a
all.
game where I think the Union for the most part were in control of that game. Like I didn't feel like Atlanta ever really had like it wasn't ever like, oh,
Hmm.
Atlanta's gonna run away with this one or like that they're gonna do anything in this game. But it also wasn't totally like the Union seemed to be fully confident in what they were doing either. But it's good teams figure out ways to win games like that, and that's what I enjoyed about that game is
Well, and
we figured out a way to win.
coming out party too for Andrew Rick. Um, that was his best performance easily of the season so far. Yeah, I've said it a couple times, but it's like I'm glad that we finally have a backup goalkeeper that can sort of steal us some points. And that was definitely what I really don't want to call him Pickle Rick, so I'm gonna not, because I think for as much as I like Frankie's weird W thing, I don't like the Pickle Rick thing. So yeah, good to see uh, Andrew get big saves against a decently potent, or at least what should be a decently potent offense, and then kind of steal the win.
Yeah, for sure. Any thoughts on the PK and like was that a PK? Should have that been called a PK?
The 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 one for us, you mean,
Yeah.
or on the other side? Um,
No, ours that was called for us.
Ours, yeah, it's a little harsh. Like if it happened to us, I'd be like, okay, it's one of those where it's I'm glad we're on that side of it, because then I'm like, well, you can't really complain. But if it happened, like if it happens this weekend against Miami, I'd be like, all right, like that's I don't know about all that.
About the PK. It's one that uh you're glad you're on that side of it. I guess it technically is a PK. He had his arm up a little high as he's sliding. It definitely hits his hand, arm, lower arm, whatever. So you kind of go, maybe right call, maybe not right call. You're frustrated when you're like, he's sliding. That's a pretty natural position while you're sliding. But,
Well, and it's
I don't know.
it's one of those too where it's like I if I did that motion, that's probably where my arms end up.
Yep.
Now, is there something to be said about like if a professional athlete does that, knowing the laws of the game and having been drilled on those, does it change that? But I'll take it. It's 3 points. Ty Baribo getting another goal. Ty Baribo leading Golden Boot race now. And then it was also kind of nice because other than those two or three big saves from Rick, like you didn't have to burn the sort of last half hour of that game on anybody really important if you wanted to use them for midweek.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It was a good end to the game in that way, for sure. So professional, I don't know. We're the better team, and we should win that game, sort of game against Atlanta, and that
Yeah,
brings us to the midweek game against Pittsburgh, and on a rainy night at Subaru Park, and it very much felt like one of
yeah,
those games of the what's that the old saying of like, can you do it on a rainy Tuesday night in Stoke? It's like, can you do it on a rainy Tuesday night
yeah.
or
Can
Wednesday
can
night
the Union
in
can the
Philadelphia?
Union beat the Riverhounds on a Wednesday night in Greater Philadelphia? I suppose. Yeah. I texted you. I guess that was Thursday, maybe. Um, we're recording on Friday, so everyone will probably hear this when the Miami game is tonight. Uh, a kind of predictable, I think, margin of defeat for the Riverhounds, especially after kind of the second goal the Union got, which I'll talk about in a second. But I think Pittsburgh scored the goal of the round as a consolation
They
goal because that's
they did
that's a
they
that's a hell
did
of a hit.
score a very nice goal. And to Jorge Garcia's credit, that's his second kind of banger of the season. And unfortunately,
Sure,
both of them have been consolation goals at the end of games
that's
that
a shame.
we're not, we're not, so they didn't mean anything, but they're goals
Yeah,
nonetheless.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so he scored one,
It's like,
I
well, if
think, in
you
the
try
80th
before, it doesn't
minute.
matter.
He scored the 80th minute against Loudon, already down 2-0 to make it 2-1, and then scored that one. So he hasn't scored a meaningful goal, but he scored two very nice goals.
Yeah, they mean a lot to him, Justin.
They do.
Not to just about anybody else, but him and his mother, I guess, are the two people that are really stoked about those goals, and me. Um, there's that. Yeah, it was your classic like trap game kind of vibe. I guess if you could say that, I don't know. You score early for the Union, nice little finish there, um, and then there's a 10 to 15 minute period where you're like, "Ooh, Riverhounds are in this." Then the Union did a thing that I don't think I've seen them do before, which is sort of just close the door. Where they had a realization a little bit where it was like, no, wait, we're better than this other team. And then what was it? Sullivan to Sullivan to Damiani, I think, and bang, 2-0. Um, and that was kind of that.
Yeah, yeah. As a Riverhounds fan, I was very proud of the team. I thought, and the Riverhounds have been struggling this year, so it's not a surprise that they lost this
Yeah,
game. I didn't think they had a chance in this game, but it was probably, it's weird to say, but it was probably one of their better performances of the season. And the reason why I say that, and I've kind of told the Riverhounds podcast I do, I kind of told them like the I've watched Philadelphia do that to just about every other team in MLS at least once over the past 2 or 3 seasons. And so it's like
yeah,
it's not a
yeah,
surprise that they did it to the Riverhounds, and just kind of, it was not a game the Riverhounds were going to win from almost the opening kickoff all the way through. But I was proud of
hmm
the way the Riverhounds played for that, especially for that 10 to 15 minute period that you mentioned. I thought they looked really good and they looked like they had chances and they just couldn't finish anything off. And then
yeah,
it was almost FIFA like in the sense that, oh, they scored a goal in the 45th minute, which, like, you know it's like that's what everybody complains about FIFA, but it's like, oh, they scored in the 45th minute right before halftime, and kind of
Right.
demoralized the other team to move on there. So,
Well,
um,
and it takes so much of the pressure off, especially ahead of Miami, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a second on Saturday, where it's like we don't really want to drag this out
mhm.
because we have this big, and you can argue, okay, it's a home game against Miami, so we don't have to travel. Like they're coming to us. They haven't looked good. Their defense has been not one. But to get that second goal right before half and then to just sort of keep that lead and then get the third, like it was nice to then be able to kind of go, all right, here's the kids, and we can take off the big name guys. Um, which is a luxury that they haven't always had.
Yeah, I was a little as a as a Union fan, I was a little interested in some of the subs.
Yeah.
I don't know why you bring Lukic on when you did there. Like, you already had the game pretty much, you know,
Yeah.
why risk Lukic in a rainy, night like that? I didn't necessarily understand that.
Um.
But on the other hand, you get the win and we go home happy. So like, uh, was it a big deal?
What
I don't
was
know.
was that a like for like? Was that DJJ for Lukic?
Uh, I don't remember. It was around the same
Maybe
time period.
that feels right.
If it wasn't a straight swap.
Because my only thought with I guess my two half thoughts that end up being one full thought are you're either trying to prevent DJJ from getting a dumb second yellow so that he doesn't get to play in the game in July, which is fair, or there's some kind of like we need to get Lukic a couple minutes to just kind of keep him warm for his start on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
I
like he
mean, what's
needed
nice
to make
about it
that
is,
sub. I think he could have brought in anybody else, but
you do
Red
get
Bull are going to
you
be a
do
little bit
get
more of a
you do get both of them rest for the weekend because both of them are going to play against Miami. So like,
right.
neither of them had to play the whole game. So that is a good thing. I think I would have rather, like, I don't know, bring Bedoya on at that point or something, and let's not risk. Um,
Sure.
but I totally get it as well and understand why the subs were being made. So um, I thought uh, I thought it was a harsh PK, but it hit his
Yeah.
hand. So
Yeah. That's another one where it's like you got to look for the ball. Like, I don't know. Like, you can't just have a team play a ball over top of you and then try to catch it. Um, so it was like a little harsh just because of where it's another one where it's like that's a vaguely natural position for you to be in. Um, but it hits you like right in the hand, like literally, and that's a handball, literally by definition. So unfortunate. And then I mean, it's nice the floodgates didn't immediately open up, but didn't help.
yeah,
I'm sure you're
I
trying
just
to hold
thought
off for as long as you can, and well, 20 minutes isn't that long.
it looked like he had his hand on the defender's back. Like, I don't remember who it was from the Riverhounds who actually committed the penalty, but it looked like he had his hand on Glez's back, and like he didn't move it, but it glanced off Glez's head and it fell right
Right.
onto his hand. And so I don't know how you call that a penalty because he's not reaching for the ball, he's reaching for the defender's back, and he just has his hand there. So I don't know, unless you're calling it for a push. If you're calling the penalty for a push and not a handball, but the ref called the handball. So I don't know.
Right.
It's a weird situation. So I get it. I get the call there. Um, the other three goals I thought were just great Union moves, like good passing movements, good movement off the ball. Jean
Mm-hmm.
Jacques especially, like made a good pass, then kept his run going, then it was just an easy.
Yeah.
Vasilev or whoever had the assist on that one just held on to the ball just long enough to let it go.
Yep.
So it was good stuff. Good stuff for sure. Good performance by the Union to
That's right. It was Indy
move
for the
on
second.
and
I
to keep
lied.
going.
Well, that wasn't so. It was um, middle late second half. I don't know if it was after they got the third goal or not, but there was one point in the second half where Kevin Sullivan hit a pass where I audibly like gasped.
Yeah.
He just, he just both those boys can pull some strings where you're like, that's people can't just do that. It's something.
Yeah, it was interesting to me
You want to talk
too,
national
like
team?
being it was interesting to me too, before we go there, it was interesting to me too, like
Yeah.
being in the stadium for the first time. Um and it was like as the second half as the second half wore on, like you could tell the crowd was audibly wanting Cavan to score. It was like every time he touched the
Oh
ball, it
yeah.
was like, "Oh, could he shoot? Oh, he shoot? Oh," and it was
Yep.
like,
It's
it was great. Where he was doing great work on the field, that was getting himself in the right positions. He hit a couple of shots that were blocked, that were hard shots that I'm not sure Eric Dick
right.
gets to. And
Right.
so it was, it was fun to watch, and fun to watch him, uh, kind of ball out for a minute in the late second half, and really try to get a goal.
Yeah, it's always been like a funny phenomenon too, where like there's always it's Brendan whenever he had the ball close to the 20-yard box or 18-yard box, like Fontana at times, Pax
Yep.
obviously, and now it's like, oh, everyone's just waiting for Kevin Sullivan to hit his first MLS goal. It's like, well, we're not too far out, but Eric Dick plays goalkeeper in a really concerning way for everyone's legs. I've never seen anyone lead with their feet more as a goalkeeper. Um,
He
which there's merit to it, but it's confusing.
It's a interesting. He is an interesting. Uh, he was an interesting keeper, and it always has been.
Yeah,
It's just it's always interesting to watch him do things.
yeah. It's just I'm like, wow, this is bizarre. I feel like Indy's goal wouldn't have gone in if he actually tried to smother it with his upper body.
Yep, no, that's for sure.
Yeah,
it was like three of the goals went underneath him, and it was just like, uh,
yeah.
put your hands down. But it
You're like,
is what
maybe
it
don't
is.
throw your legs out. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I yes, we should talk about national team duty. Quinn Sullivan gets a Gold Cup call up. Due to um Pochettino going, I am going to rest my starters for the World Cup.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's like interesting
Yeah.
because I'm happy for Quinn. Of course I'm happy for Quinn. Probably what I'm even happier
I did
about
this last week,
is
so I'm glad that you get to do it now.
probably what I'm more happy about is the fact that 6 players on this roster have Union Academy ties, which is really really fun
That is,
to look at and see. Um, and it's in every position on the field, so it doesn't matter, from attacker back to
yeah.
goalkeeper. There's Union Academy on this roster,
Somebody
so
there?
that's really fun. Um, I Quinn, uh, Pochettino, literally just went, okay, I'm gonna rest my starters. So no Reyna, no Pulisic, no Musa, no
Right.
McKinney, like literally not a name, like not a name that you would, you think, oh, this, I guess Diego Luna, there's a couple that you're like, okay, that makes sense. Brendan,
Right. Right.
Mark McKenzie, Matt Turner, all that kind of stuff. But it is it is really like, it's a really interesting roster.
It sort of feels like Potch, because I'm going to call him that, I guess. like at some point last week, he had someone in the U.S. soccer office just be like, "Here's that report you wanted, sir. Why did you need the name of the top 10 jersey sales for the last year?" Well, because I'm not going to pick any of those guys. They went, "Oh, sure, okay."
Oh, that makes sense.
And and then he's like, "And this is where I'm going to start." So after all these guys, who do I want on this team? And I mean, like I always got tired, especially from my stance last week of caps are a big deal for people that play. It always kind of, I don't know, got under my skin a little bit when people would dismiss the January camp. I get it. Like I know that they call in 800 people that play soccer in the United States in January. I understand. But it's nice to be like, oh, Quinn's first look at the national team is not in January camp, so everyone doesn't latch on to like, well, it's that one doesn't count. And it's like, okay, this is at least it's not the world. It's not the big one next year, but like this is the Gold Cup, so these are guys that are probably like on the periphery of making that squad. And he wants to give them a run out before it's really high stakes in a year. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like hate not watch the men's national team, but good for him. And our other 800 people that are gonna put 3,000 kids in the academy next year, or whatever it is.
Yeah. So, Freeze, McKenzie, uh, uh, McGlynn, Quinn, and Brendan. Did I miss? I missed somebody,
Yeah,
but yeah. So lots of players with union ties, which is really exciting. So I'm glad that's the case. Let's talk about the game this weekend a little bit. Inter Miami, and then Toronto on Wednesday. So what do we want to see over the next two games?
yeah. Well, yeah. Miami haven't looked great. I think our defense has been fine. We obviously need to play Messi like he's just some other dude in the league. We're gonna find out if we can do that or not. Um, I don't want us to turn into, although it kind of worked, Chicago Fire, because that's a very reductive type of soccer that just drives me up a wall. Um, Out of the weekend, I mean, 4 points really. Would it be nice to open up a little bit of a gap in the supporter shield race? Yeah, sure, but like we've seen that not matter for teams year after year after year after year. We're just looking for, at this point, I think, a home playoff game. And the quicker we can get to that sort of being closer to a reality, the better shape we're in, which is not anything that people can't just sort of deduct on their own. But it is still just wild to me that we are not in like a St. Louis City situation where we're like, God, what are we gonna do with this new coach? Like I'm still
Yeah,
looking around like, oh, like a lot of people thought like we kind of all were like, well, we might sneak into the playoffs, but now it's like, well, wait, okay, we're
yeah,
having to like reevaluate our kind of goals every week, and not to sort of cheat and copy notes, but uh some of the MLS sort of national pundits were like, well, this is the favorite to win the Open Cup. And I'm like, don't do that to me, please. So there's a weird
um,
amount of options for what we want to do with this season, which is not normal.
yeah. I think I am interested to see the lineup that we put out over the next two games. Just knowing
Yeah.
that, hey, you've got three games next week, and then you get a 2 week break, and so it's like, what do we do with that? Like,
Yeah.
how do we play? Can you play starters? Can you kind of push people for 3 games, hoping that like, you know, that they can get through, and then all of a sudden they're good on the other side of it. I don't know. I think it's like, all right, we got to figure that out. So, um, I think it'll be interesting. I'm hoping for a win against Miami. Um, I don't particularly. I just think as a boost of confidence. I don't think you need it, and I don't think it's like, oh man, you're gonna, But I think like trying to figure out how you can keep confidence rolling, and I feel like that would be a good way to get some confidence rolling. I think that it's just getting to the end of this month that has felt like it's lasted forever because we played
Yeah.
so many games, and so I just don't know what to expect over the next couple of games. I just don't want to lose all three of them, like so. It's like if you can get some points over the
Correct.
next three games, I think you're still
Yeah,
going to be
really.
in good shape.
I think run into the thing that we had the middle of last week, where you are throw everything at the other team for 20 minutes, and best case you get a goal or two, then you can kind of invite pressure onto the half, and then kind of reset from there. Um, and if it works 1 out of 3 times, you're in pretty good shape. Because I think you're going to see a pretty strong lineup against Miami. Um, and then from there, you have some options, because it really depends on where you think you can steal points, or how fresh your legs are, or who's feeling what kind of way after playing Wednesday. So a lot of stuff that we're not really going to find out until we see lineups, which is fine. But it'll be interesting, like you said, to sort of see what happens with all these rotations and things.
Yeah, I would think we'd see a. I would think we see Ure and Baribo. Knowing that Damiani started the game on Wednesday, you would feel like they were probably, obviously saving Baribo, but like Ure only played 30 minutes of that game, so I think that's what you see. But um, I think it's yeah, you push for a little while, see what happens, and then you try to ride it out from there. And then once we get past Dallas, then we'll be on that international break, and then we reset and figure out how to play the rest of June. And in June, I think you have 3 games or something like that. It's like after a
Right,
10
right.
game
It's
month, it's
yeah,
like
it's
June,
the
we have 3
the
games, I think.
scheduling this year has
So,
been horrible. So really,
so
yeah, if you can, because Bariba's not going anywhere in this lineup. I honestly think they roll him out to start all 3 games. I think the guy next to him changes, and I think you make a sub, pretty much like 60, 70th minute, regardless of what's happening, to get Ty out, unless he's on a hat trick or something, and just won't come. Uh,
yeah,
because
for
he
sure.
also feels like the kind of guy where if he's on 2, he's just like, "You're not. No, I'm not going anywhere. Thank you. Drag me off the field." Um, and then yeah, I think you have pretty much your main 11 this game.
Hmm.
Then there's a Bedoya start in here somewhere. I just don't know if it's midweek or the Saturday after. Then if you can get everybody through, and everybody, knock on wood, is healthy, you have a ton of time just to rest and evaluate, and maybe see if there's 1 or 2 guys on the second team you can bring up to bolster, for the summer with the Open Cup quarterfinals. I hate how they do that, but yeah, there's maybe 1 or 2 guys you bring in to sort of solidify your chances of taking home something after the international
Yeah.
window.
Yep. Yep. Anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here today?
I'm gonna be up near Tottenham next week and a half, so um, if anybody needs anything up there, let me know. I'm gonna actually drop a couple resumes off for some of our young kids, see if we can't get a Jack McGlynn or any of the sell-on clauses we have for these guys up to some Premiership money. Join
There
Brendan
you go.
next year, and we can really turn some heads in the transfer market by bringing in someone worth like I don't know $4 million.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you.
Let's do it. Well, that's what we think. Let us know what you think. You can find us at BFTV Pod all over the internet, and we will talk to you again probably. Well, I guess if you're going to be near Tottenham, Chuck and I will talk to you next week.
Yeah.
Hopefully after we get 6 points against
Wouldn't it be nice?
Miami and Toronto.
We'll
see. We'll see. I'll take 4.
Four's good.
4. I'll even take
4's...
3. I'll take 3 even.
Yeah, it depends who the 3 are.
No, I'll take 3 either way. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Give me 3.
That's you.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you again very, very soon.